it on Monday of last week, and Leslie and I are still going to have to go up there, the assessor and I, but we don't know when at this point. You all, I think that was last Wednesday, met with me on that phone call we made to Tipton's office in DC. And I did speak with her over lunch, Liz Payne, the head legislative drafter, I think, for Tipton's office. I don't remember exactly what her title is. And, she too, she was really reflecting the same things that she told us over the telephone, which was that they'd prefer us to come to some sort of agreement, similar to what the FERDA agreement was, but different, and just some sort of understanding between the two, an agreement rather than putting it into legislation, but not saying legislation was necessarily off the table. Still working on MVI stuff as well, MVIC stuff as well. Let's see what else.
Does anybody know when that meeting is going to be?
I think it's I know it's in this month, like somewhere like around the 23rd or something like that, I believe, John.
I think it's earlier. I thought it was earlier than that.
Or 13th?
Yes.
13th?
Next week.
Yeah, at their office. John, have you been able to go through our minutes, and maybe you haven't, I don't know, you probably haven't, and see if we can find where that original agreement was between the county and MVI for using water out of their structures for roads and stuff, out of their ditches and canals? And
I have gone through our minutes, and no, I haven't found that.
found that anywhere.
Rob's told me where he thought that was.
Mm-hmm.
Really what we want to see is, and we haven't seen it yet, is the actual decree. And also we want to find our certificate that we have that says that we own 20 shares of MVIC, which I think I understand came from when we purchased the fairgrounds. I'm speaking loosely here because I don't know any of this for sure, but this is kind of where we've been researching, and that's going to help us determine really what rights we have. Really, the law in Colorado is that using water on roads is a beneficial use, and we've been using water on roads in Colorado for a long time in Montezuma County. And so I think we're going to be situated well, but we want to see how the adjudicated water, what MVIC is really restricted to and what their decree says, because I think that they're telling us that they're more restricted than they are, but we need to see the decree.
John, there's a filing cabinet in our office that might have
That certificate.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's
the big one that Loretta used to.
It's mind-boggling to me that in 2018, MVIC doesn't have records of it. There's no database. She's like, "Oh, well, you need this piece of paper, or it's irreplaceable." And it just seems like there should be some other records of it as well. Certainly, MVIC has records of it, but they're telling us that they don't. So we need to find our stock certificate to see what it says.
I have a couple of ideas.
Of where it might be?
I think it might be in the filing cabinet back there.
The only other thing I should probably bring up is FPPA. Of course, that's been going on too over the last couple of weeks, and we got this letter from an attorney for FPPA about 2 weeks ago that said, it basically intimated that they were going to sue us if you all didn't get this FPPA thing done and done quickly, which I think is really, they're on shaky ground even making that threat at all. It's completely discretionary with the BOCC on whether or not you let any of our county employees have a different retirement program. And so I didn't really love the tone of their letter, and I think, and if you guys want to go into executive session and talk about this more, we can, but I think that we tell them that the sheriff's office is not joining FPPA until we get indemnification from them, so we don't have to worry about their threats. Yes. And then if they don't give it to us, then we don't do it.
Yeah.
Because we don't need to deal with their lawsuits. They have absolutely no right, no standing, no nothing, no authority to sue us right now. But basically what they're alleging is that if we, by taking so long, by having these votes and following the rules that Cora is making us follow, then the sheriff's office employees are being harmed
Right.
over these, few months, that they're not members of FPPA. And so, really, we can back out of this thing at any time up until when we start changing where we send money from Cora to FPPA. Once we do that, then they all of a sudden are going to claim that they have been injured because we didn't do it earlier. So, because we don't have to do it at all, I say we tell them we're not doing it. And we either rescind the resolution or tell them we're rescinding it on a certain date. If we don't get written indemnification from them, just guaranteeing us that they're not filing these frivolous lawsuits against us.
There you go.
Because right
I'd
now,
do that sooner than later.
right now we have all the leverage.
Yeah.
And I think it's obnoxious that, I don't know if it's the sheriff telling their attorneys to threaten us or what, but it's out of line, and they've got no place to be doing it.
I'd make that real clear with them real soon.
Okay, so should I give them a deadline of a certain time? That we're going to rescind the resolution and they're not going to go to FPPA if we don't have indemnification from them by...
We're
When is the
doing
vid-
the
when's the
Cora vote is this week,
Right.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I don't
So
know what
really
that
we can rescind this resolution anytime up until when we start withholding money. Yeah.
And there's a 90-day waiting period,
After the
so
vote.
it'll be
So we
June
have
1st.
time, and really none of this even matters if the vote fails, but I don't think we give them much time. I mean, I think it was obnoxious of them to write us that letter threatening to sue us. And they'll claim that they weren't threatening to sue us, but that's exactly what they were doing.
It sure sounded that way.
Okay, so you interpreted it that way
Yeah.
too.
So do you think we're safe to wait until after the vote, or do you think we should do it now, or?
It doesn't matter. No, we are safe to wait. We can do it at any time up until we start withholding money. We're safe. But I think that we don't need to necessarily give them very much time. I don't think we play games with them. Let's cut it off and say we're not doing it. And thus, we're assured that we're not going to end up in court over this because we don't have to do it.
Yeah.
We're doing it for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense why you would threaten to sue somebody that's trying to help you.
They want their money more quickly.
Yeah, it's all about the money.
Yeah.
It's all about getting their money.
Yeah, they want their money more quickly.
Well, the original resolution that we had said it was going to be December 1st, but they hadn't even had their vote then.
Right.
Well, I guess it was that November or
Well,
December?
and they're also saying that Cora has no right to make the rest of that should be irrelevant, that the rest of the county doesn't have to vote on it. And
So according to them, Cora doesn't need to do it, but according to Cora and our agreement with Cora, we do have to.
That's right,
And
yeah.
so we're following rules to protect everybody else in the county,
That's right.
and don't need to be playing their games or being bullied by them.
Well, the agreement is with Cora, not with FPPA at this
Right.
point.
That's exactly right. That's who we have an agreement with. So, I mean, I don't feel like entertaining them very much or pussyfooting around. I feel like just telling them, okay, we're not doing it. We can start over if you want to, or give us indemnification. So if you guys are willing to rescind that in a week, I'll tell them they need to have it to us within a week. Or 2 weeks.
By our
or-
next meeting on Monday?
The vote should be done by then,
The
shouldn't it?
vote should be done. I don't know how long it'll take for their tally because we're closing the voting at 4 o'clock on Friday.
Friday.
But it should be pretty simple for Kim to get done, so we'll have
Shouldn't be
results
that
Friday.
all, yeah.
I'll tell them that I'm going to advise you all, and you all might rescind it next week.
There you go. That gives you
Maybe,
some room.
then you guys can decide when you want to do it.
Okay.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
James,
We do have a meeting next week, yeah, 12.
Yep.
Yes,
James Dietrich didn't have anything else.
and anything else.
We had a couple of meetings last week. One was with Montrose Forestry Products, and actually a pretty good sized group, very good meeting. All three commissioners, and then that morning we had one with Sally Clark, which is the new rural
Development.
USDA
Development.
director for the state of Colorado, and that was actually good about finding monies and how Region 9 goes through them, but you can go direct to them, and very interesting. I mean, they fund money. We asked them what the limit was, and they said however much you can pay back. That was pretty amazing. So it was a good meeting. That's all I have.
I went to a Southwest TPR meeting on Thursday last week and told them that we were not paying our dues, and I came to find you learn something every time you open something up. They're not dues; those are strictly donations, and they're not mandatory. And you do not have to be a contributing member of that to attend the TPR meeting. So I said, "Thank you very much. I'll be back."
Good enough.
Yeah. So
I think it was only like
700 and some odd dollars. Yeah.
752
That's
or
what we were-
572 or something.
We'd done a 10% reduction last year from 800 and some down. But that is merely a donation, and they said no harm, no foul. And there are not many projects on the scope for upcoming construction projects
For Montezuma County.
for Montezuma County, for Archuleta County, for San Juan County. There's a big one going on in La Plata.
That's
Because
where
is that what they're doing, funneling all the
They say no, that there'll still be projects granted over here, but we've already been shut off from our Cajon, finishing that resurfacing to Cajon, and we've been shut off from our County Road S reconstruction, safety reconstruction, so. $99 million is hard to come by. Takes a lot of juice to get 99 million bucks.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll keep fighting. We'll keep arguing. CDOT has its own way of playing games, man.
Do all those other places make the contribution?
They're getting funding through the state somehow through CDOT at a state level for, I think, like 50 some million of it, and they've got CDOT has got pots of money all over the place that they sometimes can dip into, sometimes can't dip into, sometimes it's the most confusing system I've ever seen in my life. So they have somehow through the state granting them double the amount they were going to give them for a certain project. They've been able to find money out. They've been working on this for 15 years, trying to cover up that big, what they laid over there at the bridge to nowhere, and they finally got it done. And I'm sure at our expense, a lot of people in this region's expense.
Let me bring up one other thing. Tanner from Fairgrounds is saying that there's a woman who wants to have a trade show, I think is what he said, a trade show at the Fairgrounds on April 28th on industrial hemp. She said no marijuana stuff, just hemp, and wanted to make sure that you guys would not be opposed to that.
It's industrial hemp, the crop, and that sort of thing. I'm behind it.
I have no problem with it so long as
That's what he says.
they're sure
I'm
not
sure
to.
Tanner will
Yeah.
investigate that out thoroughly. I'm sure he will.
Okay.
The only thing I went to the same meetings that Larry Don went to, and I went to an ag water workshop for an hour.
Oh, I forgot to tell him. I went to that.
You went to that too. The hour I was there was very informative. I had not realized when you start to say transfer water, but that's not the right word for it. But if you want to sell your water to somebody, you don't sell what it sounds like you're selling. You can only sell the productive.
The consumptive rights.
Yeah, right. And he laid that out pretty clear, I thought. I don't know.
And guys, I need to review my notes to be able to speak very well on this, because a lot of it was new to me, but yeah, they're talking about, there's a target on our water down here, not only from the state of Colorado, but from the lower compact states, and they're going to be coming after our water, and there's going to be many different masks and faces of how that. And the example I gave, how it showed up to me, was here a year and a half ago. Denver Water, the water company that provides water in Denver, was trying to lease Ute water out of our project to send it to Lake Powell to make up for deficits that they were not contributing to the lower compact states.
How did you find that out?
Well,
That was in a
because
meeting.
It was out at the DWCD. The board had to vote on allowing them to lease it to Denver Water, and the board voted no, that they could not lease it to them. And so that's how it came. It's just, we don't know where all it's going to come from. I mean, there are going to be people and businesses and entities in here looking at a myriad of ways of trying to get a hold of our water here. And there's a lot of, there's buy and dry, there's many.
It's going to be big money too.
And it's going to be big money. You're not a kid. The water's going to be more valuable than oil and gold at some point in time. It's going to be the most valuable commodity we've got. And that's why we need to battle to keep every bit of it in that reservoir over there that we can keep in it. Because once you let it go, once you let it over that dam, it's gone forever. But yeah, very, very, very interesting meeting.
Okay, is there anything else? Anybody? Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to say, open it up to public comment if anybody has.
This one put on us?
So close today.
Every day.
Ellen Foster, County Road T, Dolores. I just wanted to make just a general comment about charging, logging, trucking companies road impact fees. I think that they should be charged a road impact fee, just the same way that Kinder Morgan is. I think they can afford it. I think a huge company like Montrose Forest Products can afford it. And I think that wherever else they work, they expect to pay that. And they build that into their proposal, there you go, thanks. And I think if you exempt them from paying it, and you say that that's what the road and bridge mill levy is for, then you put all that cost on all the taxpayers of the county. And I don't think that's the taxpayer's responsibility. I think if that company wants to come here and do business, and they're gonna tear up our roads, that they should pay to repair them the same way that Kinder Morgan does.
I'll respond to that. So how do you know how much money they're going to make?
I don't. I just said as a general comment. I just heard them this morning. I
So
don't have
that-
time
this was
to check them
interesting
out.
About pine and why it's the most least desirable lumber out there, and why he said they can only make 3 products, which I still question where he can do it. And that's, he said he'd make 1x4s, 1x6, and 1x8s.
Mhm.
Why did he not say it was gonna make 2x4s, 2x6s, or 2x8s? Why did he not say it was gonna make 4x4s or 8x8s?
Because the diameter is too small.
No. Because it twists.
Mhm.
It is where spruce won't twist, where aspen won't twist. It twists. I made house logs for a log home that I built one time. Put them out there to dry out a pine, and when they got done, they had twisted to where the lines they were. So, the only other thing you make out of it is these cants, these for mines, because it still twists. But you can put them in to shore up the rock from falling down on the miners. So this perception that it's this very valuable commodity for this sawmill, in my opinion, is not true. And so the other thing is why don't we charge you then? Why don't we charge you in your little SUV to go to your house? Because you're tearing up the roads. Why
Well,
are
you do charge me. I pay in my property taxes
And
to
so
the
do
road
they.
and bridge.
And so everybody that they have works for them pays the property taxes too.
But Montrose Lumber doesn't own the forest. They don't own the property that they're working on. They don't
Montrose
pay a
Forest,
property
so the way
tax.
that it works is it's called SRS, and it's called the Secure Rural Schools. And that means that all of the commodities, whether it's grazing, whether it's timber, whether it's minerals that comes off of the Forest Service or the BLM, goes straight to the county because we get 25% of the profit. So they're paying 25% that you're not paying.
Well, yeah, but they're also getting the product.
You're getting to drive down the road.
Yeah, but they're.
It's two different things.
They're having to pay the forest for the product.
Yeah.
Granted, they do, it's a commercial venture, I
Yeah.
understand where you're coming
Yeah.
from. But it's a very it's a very limited, what Commissioner Supa says, that pine is not a desirable wood product. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm honestly amazed that Montrose is doing this. I am absolutely astounded that they're gonna come up, and I think the only reason they are is they've got a 20 million board foot commitment for 25 years from the Forest Service. I think that's the only reason that they are coming into, and it's gonna help our forest. We're gonna be the beneficiaries of this, and hopefully it's gonna stop the bug kill, or at least get a lot of that bug kill, and maybe slow down the bug kill in the rest of our forest. But, I think the road problem can be mitigated without having to charge them. And I understand we made Kinder Morgan pay for their, for their road damage, and they've agreed to that, but, I don't think the impact of this logging is gonna be quite as extensive as what Kinder Morgan did, with the rigs and the heavy equipment that they brought in, the things that they brought in to make their business function. I don't think it's quite on that scale. And we're gonna be using several different routes. I mean, they're gonna be coming off the forest in 3 or 4 different places to make that.
So they've never had to pay before in the past. And the thing is to think that this is a new idea, that Montrose, so Dudley Miller, I don't know if anybody knows Dudley Miller. Dudley Miller owned Montrose Wood Products, and he's from here. The South Fork, the lumber mill that was closed down, and the Olathe, the Louisiana Pacific, they have been buying timber here ever since we've been cutting these forests.
Yeah.
This isn't like a new idea that
Well,
all of a sudden big bad Montrose.
They're already up on Taylor Mesa cutting fir and
Yeah.
spruce right now. I mean, Montrose Wood is already in this country logging.
And they've been here for 50 years.
This is just gonna be a bigger scale to, I think, help the Forest Service control their forest problem and their bug problem.
And I'm all in favor of
I
that.
understand that.
So the sales, and that's the other thing that you don't realize is how, I said they swapped the lumber, they swapped the sales. I mean, Ponderosa Timber, we own what they call the West Beaver timber sale, which you go up there by the Gurley Ditch, huge timber sale. We ended up selling that to Montrose Wood Products. And the Natrade just went up on the West Fork. So there's so many moving parts to this that unless you've been in the business like I have, you don't understand it. I don't know what else to say until you educate yourself more about it. There's a lot to this. But in
Oh.
the end, we're gonna make what's the difference between, if they don't go cut it down, they're gonna burn it down, is what they are. Then we
Fall
don't
down
got
and rot.
nothing. And then we're gonna crystallize the soil, sterilize the soil, and we're not gonna get nothing. Thank you.
Montezuma Water is waiting for us, so we probably, unless there's more public comments, somebody else
Can
is.
I'm coming with you to Montezuma Water, is that all right?
I don't know. Did you clear that with her?
Y'all are going together, right?
What?
That's for Lerda.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are.
Really know who runs the place, so we better.
Well, yeah. You damn it, you clear everything with
That
her.
would be up to James Lambert.
Chuck was just there yesterday, and I can't remember if I did in your office.
It's up there by the old Ponderosa sawmill.